Hi, this is Chris with firstcenturychristianity.net, and I'm going to read you a passage from Josephus here in a second that's very flattering and very confidence-building for those of us who follow the faith once delivered to the saints. First thing is about Josephus, who was a Roman citizen and a Kohen. He had authority over cities in Judea, so he was one of the traveling Levites who could go around and make decisions in outlying areas. And he was effectively a traitor. He defected to the Romans when the temple came down. And because of that, we have this book, The Antiquities of the Jews. He was commissioned by the emperor to record the history of the Jewish people, which includes a lot of doctrine and a lot of rich information. And here is what he has to say about Jesus. He says, in Antiquities of the Jews 18:3.3, now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as receive the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ, which means Messiah. And when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold. These and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him, and the tribe of the Christians, so named from him, and are not extinct at this day. Those are wonderful words about somebody who wasn't really a Christian. There's no evidence that Josephus accepted Yeshua other than those sentences right there. But does that sound like Josephus was talking about Jesus Christ, that Yeshua the Messiah started a new religion and drew away many of the Jews to forsake the Torah? No, that's not what he says at all. He's very flattering about the Messiah, very flattering, and says that he was even foretold by the prophets coming from the Old Testament. So the reason I'm reading this to you is because this is the principal proof we have outside of the Bible that Jesus existed and was resurrected. This is a secular source, which is a good thing to read after you've read the Bible from cover to cover. And I recommend reading this entire book, because if you want to get to the knowledge of the first century faith, this is the place to go after you've read the Bible. This book will give you the history, it'll give you context. You can even imagine yourself being with Josephus as he was trying to get people to not revolt against the Romans and get smote. So this week I'm going to talk about crossroads. This week on Shabbat, streaming live at 1 p.m. You can get to the stream from firstcenturychristianity.net. I'm going to talk about the crossroads. What happens when you accept Jesus as the Messiah and you decide to put God first? When you decide to put Yahweh first in all things that you do, you're very quickly faced with choices. You have to read the Bible, and then you have to determine, does the Bible matter? And if it does, then what? And you very quickly you come up with some binary choices that you have to make that don't just revolve around faith. They revolve around actions and deeds. Do we have any record of the first century believers dyeing Easter eggs or doing anything to worship a sun goddess or a fertility goddess in the spring? We don't have any evidence of that. What do we have of evidence in the New Testament writings? For Gentile believers, for people who accept Yeshua as the Messiah, they start going to synagogue, they start studying the Torah, and they have to make a change. They have to stop with the traditions and the rituals of the religions that they grew up with, and they have to adopt the practices of Yahweh. Those are very important things, because salvation isn't just a momentary belief where you could just say, I believe, and throw your hands in the air and confess your sins, which you should do. But then what? Then you have to start walking a path, and you have to follow that path wherever it leads. So join us on Shabbat at 1 p.m. Central, streaming live through YouTube or through Zoom, as we take a journey on that path and start talking about the difficult choices that one has to make when you accept Yeshua as the Messiah. May Yahweh bless you and keep you in the name of his Son, Yeshua.